This is a MotoGP bike, a marvel of engineering, design, and aerodynamics. They look so damn good. But recently, these bikes have started looking a little different. Notice anything strange about this Aprilia? Yeah, it's got a freaking spoiler. MotoGP bikes have all sorts of little bits like these all over them. They're called winglets, and they have taken over the sport. You'll see them at the front, the sides, and more recently, even the back. But what do these things do, and why have they only started showing up recently? Winglets are part of a new strategy to take motorcycle performance to a whole new level. Every MotoGP season, they get a little bit more interesting and a little bit more effective. MotoGP bikes are blisteringly quick. In a straight line, they can outpace an F1 car. They can hit speeds of over 360 kilometers an hour. The best bikes, the best riders, and the best rear ends on television. The aerodynamics though, they can use a little work. When you build a machine this light, this powerful, and this quick, you're gonna run into some issues. When a MotoGP rider accelerates really hard, the front wheel starts to lift. These bikes accelerate so quickly that speed, wind, torque, and aerodynamic drag push the nose up. In a safe and controlled environment like a Walmart parking lot, a wheelie like this would be freaking sick. But on a racetrack, it's not, because it slows the bike down. In order to bring the motorcycle back to ground level, the rider has to ease off the throttle, reduce power, and compromise their speed of acceleration. Here's a little crash course on racing. Unless you're approaching a corner, slowing down is not something you want to do. To combat this, MotoGP teams have integrated anti-wheelie systems that reduce power when the front wheel starts to lift. The only problem is that the solution is still to reduce power, except now instead of a rider doing it, a computer does it, taking jobs from the people. To reduce front wheel lift without sacrificing speed, MotoGP manufacturers have started thinking outside the box. They thought, hey, if the front wheel keeps lifting, why don't we just start adding more load to the front? And the answer to that? Winglets. These things like to generate downforce through aerodynamics. Ducati was the first manufacturer to seriously adopt these. In 2010, they tested winglets, but they found no noticeable difference. In 2015, they tested a new design, and they stuck with it. By 2016, just about every manufacturer had winglets of their own. But how do these pieces of carbon fiber make the bike heavier without making it all that heavy? Here's how they work. Disclaimer, I'm not an engineer or a physicist. I also don't work for MotoGP. So this is what you get. This is a very, very basic winglet design. This is what you might see looking at it from the side. When the air hits the wing, it splits in half. The wing is curved at the bottom, so the air traveling on that surface has more distance to travel and is forced to carry more speed, creating an area of low pressure. The air traveling on the flat surface above has less distance to travel and carries less speed. This creates an area of high pressure. High pressure means the air is heavy, and so it wants to fall down. As the air reaches the end of the wing, the air traveling under the wing is redirected upward, and the air traveling over the wing is also redirected upward. These combined forces help create what we call downforce. And if you tilt these wings a little more downward, the downforce effect is increased even more, at the cost of more drag. These winglets can generate 40 pounds of downforce at 200 kilometers an hour. It isn't a crazy amount of weight, but these bikes don't weigh much to begin with. The weight pushing down on the nose of the bike reduces front wheel lift, improves stability, and increases front wheel traction when braking. But of course, winglets aren't limited to the front. We see them at the side, but these tend to serve the same purpose as the wings at the front. But we also see them at the back. And MotoGP bikes don't really need any more load at the back, if you know what I mean. The rear winglets are there to solve a different downforce problem. To explain this, let's take a look again at Formula 1. One area where F1 has MotoGP beat is cornering. When turning, downforce is everything. More downforce means more traction. More traction means stickier tires. Stickier tires mean you can take corners sharper and faster. F1 cars apply an enormous amount of downforce. They have massive wings and aerodynamic fairings that keep the car glued to the ground. And the best part is all that downforce is always being applied, whether you're accelerating, cornering, or braking. MotoGP bikes apply an okay amount of downforce in a straight line. But the moment the rider is no longer in an upright position, like when cornering, the downforce effect is not only compromised, but it's almost counterintuitive. When a rider leans into a corner, let's say at 45 degrees, the front winglets are now pushing the bike down and to the side, out of the corner. It's downforce combined with lateral force, and it has an oversteer effect, where the tires lose traction and the rider is pushed in the opposite direction. To counteract this, MotoGP riders redistribute their weight to the direction they're turning. This keeps the bike in a more vertical position, which maximizes downforce and grip while minimizing slippage from lateral force. To counteract this even further, MotoGP teams have started experimenting with rear wings. These winglets are here to help MotoGP get a little bit closer to that F1 cornering speed, and they're only effective when the rider leans over and exposes the rear. These wings apply extra drag and load to the rear. They should theoretically help with braking before a corner and provide additional traction in turns. It should help riders brake later and take turns quicker. The problem is, how do you apply enough downforce in a corner without overdoing the lateral force? It's hard to find that perfect balance, which might be a good reason why rear winglets don't usually stick around. The science is constantly being tested out on the track. The rear winglets that do stick, like Ducati's rear winglet from the 2021 MotoGP season, is a cooling device for the rear wheel and not a downforce device, allegedly. MotoGP bikes are fast, but they can be faster, especially when cornering. Downforce in motorcycling is a very new phenomenon. So let's see what these teams have in store for us in the near future.